ladies and handsome gentlemen, viewers of this channel. This has been covered on Saturday during my, it was supposed to be live, but it turned out to be dead session. In any case, I think this is very important, given that on the 15th we are entering into that full moon in Aquarius. And so here's like where I'm covering it. If you want to see the breakdown sign by sign, go and check my weekly forecast, okay? And the link is going to be provided below and also at the end of the video. Let's start. On the 15th, we are entering this full moon Aquarius, and it is a really biggie. So what I'm going to do, I am going to explain this a bit, and then we are going to go sign by sign, and we are going to do the reading, and we are going to see how this affects you. So there you go. Shall we start? Alright, so how is this full moon in Aquarius, right? It's bright and it's glittery, and it's coming up on August 15, 2019. If you consult the old farmer almanac, this moon is known as sturgeon moon due to a type of fish that is caught more easily over this time in this like huge lakes of North America. So this full moon also sometimes is called the red moon, grain moon, or I believe green corn moon. Also, keep in mind that we had a really hectic eclipse that happened in July. So this full moon is a little bit gentler in its energies. So we can really see the fruition of our intentions that we actually planted several months earlier at the Aquarius new moon, which was back in February this year. So you see, it's always good to think, well, we now had new moon in Leo, what is about our glamour and something that is going to manifest 6 months down the road, right? With this full moon, perhaps we can look at releasing old friendships, ideals, and goals that no longer align with who we are and what we stand for, making essential space for new friends and new dreams. So they're kind of going to fill the space that kind of like we are emptying. So we are also going to look and finding balance between the desire for leadership and authority with kind of like belonging to the group and community, right? Because Aquarians are sort of like very independent thinkers. They don't like to be leaders, even though sign 11 sign, rather to say 2 ones, we should be leaders of the leaders. But ask Aquarians, they're usually going meh, and we gladly kind of like give that to Leo, where Leo has this generosity and likes to kind of like have this, it has the crown that kind of like really belongs to them. Mind you, they really like us, and they kind of like give them hints, and they kind of like put it in practice. So it's kind of like really good cooperation. So let's talk about energies that are affecting this full moon. I will be going through all the astrology, which to some of you might be going, oh my god, Kat, I'm just waking up kind of a thing. But let me just kind of like try to make it first quick and summarize it before we get into that nitty-gritty. So there is a sweet connection at this full moon with the sun. It's right next to the relationship-oriented Venus. And that's why it's making this moon feel loving and warm. So we can be asked to find the balance of spending time with our sweetheart or puppy or a cat and spending time with our friends. And when we find it, we are going to feel very fulfilled, right? Maybe I should pull out the chart and go with the chart. Let me do that. It's going to be probably easier to follow. Okay, so here is the chart, and let me get a little technical. So full moon in Aquarius in August of 2019 is taking place on the 15th of August 2019. It's 8:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So people in Eastern Zone and in Pacific Zone, basically entire North America, it's pretty much going to be awake when we are actually experiencing this. In LA, it's going to be 5:29 a.m. In London, UK, it's going to be 1:29 p.m. In Delhi, India, it's going to be 5:59 p.m. and in Sydney, Australia, it's going to be at 10:29 p.m. So kind of like a day ahead of us, sort of like almost a full day. So let's look into a few aspects. I first want to see this Sun conjunct Venus, which kind of focuses attention on our love life, on creativity and finances, right? If I would just see that aspect, this would be very peaceful and very harmonious, affectionate, and sociable. Hey, what can go wrong with this? Perfect for dating, perfect for getting together with friends, right? Perfect for romance. But we have the full moon, and that can bring relationship tensions and also financial pressures. Then we also have moon opposing Venus, which kind of increases your need for love and affection. It's kind of like regardless of the consequences, right? And if you're single, you might be tempted to lower your standards, you know, just kind of like, I don't want to be lonely, like she's not that bad, oh well, it's okay, he's not going to cheat on me, kind of a thing, right? So you might miss character flaws in potential partners that are obvious to others, and you might not cope well if you don't receive true love in return. So if you have a partner, then it can be some kind of friction, which is going to kind of happen because you might be in different moods or have different needs, or one person wants to kind of do something very active, another person very kind of like peaceful. You never do anything for me, and that kind of stuff, right? But if you have a healthy relationship, then this full moon is most likely going to expose anything that is kind of like simmering under the surface, and that can be successfully resolved. So if this is a tricky part, Venus and moon, what can go wrong? So if your emotional needs are not fulfilled through human contact, then there is potential for substitution through sweet foods, retail therapy, or substance abuse, right? That's kind of like fine in moderation. That's maybe a little bit problematic for your credit rating, right? Or waistline, or emotional well-being, right? So I would just say here, maybe some time alone may be needed to work on your self-love and self-acceptance. So very important. So what else I want to go? Let's actually look at the moon that is also opposing Mars. That can make you really moody and short-tempered, right? And it's kind of like acting without thinking, which can increase the risk of minor irritations, and kind of like normal situations can turn into fights, right? And intimate relationships can suffer from almost like aggressive instincts, right? Not to mention that sex can be like more sex and like, I mean, less making love if you're kind of like in that if you're in a relationship kind of stuff. Another thing, there is a word for you: Sun quincunx Pluto. So you see, quincunx means basically 5 signs apart, right? And this, in this particular situation, can cause, this is really important quadrant, it can cause a mini crisis, it can cause a threat, because this is going to represent a turning point in your life. Hey, turning point in your life. This is not a Mickey Mouse thing, right? These are outer planets, and when they influence something that is like as close as like the center over here, it is really, really huge, right? So keep in mind that it's almost going to be a buildup of pressure, and that can cause a mini crisis, and it can be very neurotic, it can be a very obsessive and very destructive. It can be triggered by a person or an event, and in relationships you might react by trying to control and manipulate the other person, and it's going to look like, hey, are we not into this together? Why am I feeling that I have to obey you? It's going to feel like really like the egos are coming to the surface. So really kind of like that we will need to work with. So compromise is really needed, because there will be no yes or no. There'll be only gray areas, right? So also with Pluto, what I see over here, this one, this is another quincunx, and this one is Venus quincunx Pluto. I think it's pronounced quincunx, correct me if I'm wrong, right? So it's not sextile, it's quincunx, right? Sextile is like 6 basically degrees, 6 planets, 6 planets apart, signs apart, pardon me. In this particular case, this can bring complications, and it can make friendships really difficult. And this is also talking about obsessions and possessiveness. This also can talk about jealousy or affairs. So you may become involved with someone who is difficult to get along, but kind of like hard to dump them, kind of a thing, right? You're kind of hard to love hard to love, but Jesus, I'm stuck with you, kind of a thing. But this is a very karmic aspect. So for karmic reasons, somebody, for example, may come into your life and then cause hysteria, drama, and then just leave, and you're like, WTF, what had just happened, right? And maybe, you know, you're going to feel like you're really drawn to certain people, and you have to really realize that there was like some kind of hidden emotional need. And you can also try to form relationships with people who try to control you or invade your privacy and, I don't know, take away your freedom. Like, what I mean by that is, like, they just move in with you. They just, you know, invite them for a supper and they stay. And then, like, you are being nice and kind, and you're trying to kind of like work things around, and you really don't know how to really deal with this, right? So what else do we really look? Let's look into, I don't know, like if I can see it here. I wrote it down here for me that the moon is conjuncting fixed star Nashira at 22:04, right? So she's the fortunate one, and this is kind of bringing us good news after all this controlling and turning point in life kind of like warning. So this is kind of like something like it talks about overcoming evil, and you're turning certain negativity to success. It's very close to Justice card. It gives integrity, justice, knowledge of man, it's social popularity and political success, right? And also kind of like the Sun and Venus. I don't know if you can see it here, like I just only see this aspect over here. I'm just like looking into my other calculations because this chart is not perfect, right? And where is my 41? Did they pull it up? I guess not. Just house 45. So Sun and Venus actually conjunct fixed star that is called Ras Elas Borealis, and that gives us like really bold and bombastic, but sometimes also cruel or brutish nature, but also kind of like it's going to be power of expression. I have to say it, I want to say that kind of like stuff. And when we're talking about stars, kind of like Mars in conjuncting fixed star Alphard at 27 Leo, which kind of gives trouble and can be scandalous, and it's going to be scandal through love affairs. It's going to reveal if you're attached to a married person, and it could also signify serious accidents, right? So now also with Uranus, right? Uranus is stationed retrograde on 11th of August. This is just like 4 days before the full moon. And it is on the same degree, like 6 degrees in Taurus, right? Interestingly, it's kind of like it's exactly conjuncts asteroid Aphrodite, which was representing the Greek goddess of love, beauty, pleasure, passion, and sex. So this is kind of like that love theme that is going to be really playing. That's why I'm telling you it's going to be really tricky. So Venus opposite full moon, right, like what we are seeing over here, which suggests excitement and sudden changes in love life, and it's going to like feel like I really need stimulation, I want to do it, right? It's going to be very unpredictable. Hello, like it's Aquarians, like get a flavor of how we feel all the time, and then tell me that you don't feel compassionate after that. So it's going to be whirlwind romance or affairs, chance encounter, internet dating, thrills, sudden marriages, you know, well, I need to buy this Rolls Royce, who cares, I only live once. And but it also can bring like severe financial losses, but also you might win lottery, right? Also Uranus, since I'm talking about Uranus, which is really important over here, it's conjuncting fixed star Hamal, pardon me, Hamal, I think Hamal, which kind of like talks about passions, but it also is connecting to love troubles and sensitivity, right? And drinking. So hey, what can go wrong? Drinking and sensitivity. Be careful that you're not in a bad company over here, all right? I mean, like we are seeing them as well here, this Leo aspects as well. So I also want to say that August 15 full moon opposite Venus, and we are back over here, brings your love life and finances into focus for the 2 weeks. So while you kind of like, you will really need love, you really need affection, you'll be huggy and feely, it is likely that, you know, you will also have disagreements. This is really one of those things like, look, I'll read right for each other, right? We also have these difficult aspects from Mars, right, and Pluto. You see, kind of like Mars is like, and Pluto is kind of similar, dragging you down to depths that maybe we don't really want to experience, right? And that's kind of like what can bring anger and jealousy, intimidation, and sometimes really impulsive actions, right? And also challenging fixed stars with Sun, Venus, and Mars. It can bring like that cruelty or affairs and scandals. So, you know, what is the recipe? Patience, understanding, and unconditional love are really needed. Like, let me repeat it: patience and understanding and like love to conquer that evil influences, right? I think some people are calling that star-crossed lovers over here. I've seen other people referring to it, and you know, this is kind of like needed, that kind of like love and patience, and even love thy enemies kind of a thing, in order to access the good fortune. This is a very karmic period, you know, like it used to be, it was like Lionsgate last year. This year is full moon in Aquarius. Welcome. You guys are not going to like, it's almost like Stargate. Did you see that movie, Stargate? You go through it and it's very different. Nothing is the same. So also, a full moon has a relationship to the previous new moon, right? It's just like August 15 full moon, July 31st new moon, right? Kind of like a similar. On July 31st, like I think, like we had woke up with stress and anxiety, and we were worried about our love life and finances, and it was like almost like, what the heck, what can I do? And it was a huge tension going on, right? So keep in mind that this August full moon lasts for 2 weeks up to August 30th new moon, which is going to be new moon in Virgo, right? So worth remembering is, if the full moon directly impacts your horoscope decan. What means decan? Decans are 3 decans. Each sign has it. First 10 days of the sign, second 10 days, and third 10 days, right? So you can kind of like check your monthly horoscopes when I'm covering this. So it's also very important how it affects your chart. For example, I am born under full moon, as a kind of like, that's why my moon is in Leo, the opposite. So it is like really something to really understand. So this is much about this whole kind of like thing. So let me go into sign by sign. Just wait for the end of the video where I'm going to provide the link to the Saturday's premiere where I explain sign by sign. Just go in the comments and find the stamps, check your sign, and see how all the situation is going to affect you, and go with that. So just wait a few more seconds after my closing videos, and then go and jump right in.